Welcome back to AM Northwest. Our next guest is a New York Times best-selling writer whose latest book deals with the loss of one of her closest friends and mentors. We welcome back to AM Northwest the author of Grief is for People, Sloane Crosley. Good to see you again, Sloane.
Hi, I'm delighted to be here. Hi.
This is your first nonfiction work.
No, this is my first full-length nonfiction
Okay,
work.
gotcha.
So it's so funny. These things get sort of spliced so overly carefully. But I wrote 3 books of humor essays that are all narrative nonfiction, so they're real stories.
Oh, gotcha.
But this is the first book that could be considered a memoir.
Yeah. You talk about your friend. It's dedicated to your friend Russell.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, tell me how you met him. He was your good friend and mentor for many years. How did you meet him?
Well, so much of the book is about the people who work behind the scenes in arts industries. And I met him because we both worked in book publicity for Random House, and he hired me. He was my boss for 10 years. And it's actually funny, when he hired me, I did something very bratty for, you know, a 20-something, where he offered me the job. But I wasn't sure if I wanted it because I liked the other people, my former coworkers. And so I asked to come in for a second interview, at which point he let me, you know, ask all these questions, and he sort of leaned across the desk and he said, "It's like you're asking for, like, you've been admitted to Harvard, but first you need a tour of the bathroom." And I'm like, okay. And we just sort of, you know, very platonically, you know, fell in love. He was sort of like my older brother, my younger brother, my best friend, you know, he's everybody.
Why was it important to you to write about him?
Well, he died very unexpectedly. He died by suicide. And I felt, I think as a lot of people do when there's sudden grief, you know, which is not greater or lesser than anticipated grief.
No, but when it comes out of nowhere.
When it comes out of nowhere, you feel this extra layer of being robbed.
Yeah.
And I think of the book, and I think, not so fast.
Yeah.
I just wasn't ready to let him go yet. And I wanted to write about grief in a way that would frankly save a couple of people from the self-help aisle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a dark book, it's a funny book, it's like sort of, you know, sardonic.
It's really a great book to read, honestly. I loved it.
I'm glad.
Yes, I loved it. And I think when you connect with a loss of someone like that, you totally understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
So let's kind of set the book up. You start up by talking about your home was burglarized, your apartment was burglarized, and all this stuff is gone.
I know. It's like, I mean, it's funny, every time someone summarizes it, I feel like it's like a litany of bad things that have happened, but I hope it doesn't come off like that.
Very bad time.
It was just a, you know, a no good, very bad month and a half. But yeah, I left the house for 1 hour in June of 2019 and came back, and someone had come through my window. There were boot prints all over my bed, and they had taken all of my jewelry. And as you can probably tell, I am not Kim Kardashian. There's no real reason why someone would follow me home and take my many tiaras, you know. And yet it happened. Not the tiara part. And it was obviously devastating, and I went on a hunt to try to like solve it, and Russell was actually helping me. And then exactly 1 month later, after I had a dinner with him, he died by suicide, and it was unexpected and heartbreaking, and these two losses become intertwined. Obviously, the second one is much bigger than the other. Yeah. But it's really about the frustration of not being able to solve that mystery.
Yeah. Because there was a little bit of frustration not being able to solve the burglary, and then here you get this huge thing.
Yes.
Because it did come out of nowhere. You didn't see this happening.
I mean, it came out of nowhere for me, but I'm also not in his head.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So yes, I did not see it happening.
Right.
I only felt, I have a sort of an aside in the book where I talk about how I saw it happening to the extent where if Fran Lebowitz said to you, you know, I'd rather kill myself than go to Times Square, or walk through this, or go to that. Sure, he would make comments like that. You start hearing how casual people are.
So you looked back at things just with a little different view.
Just a slightly different prism. I think it makes you, in a very positive way, more careful with other people. Obviously, I'm a humor writer. I traffic in sarcastic comments.
Well, that's why you two got along. He was very straightforward.
Well, that's why I also think the book, for all of its heartbreak and depth, is funny, because normally I wouldn't call my own writing funny so casually as I think I have like 3 times already in this conversation, except for the fact that I feel like it's got him in it too. And he was very funny.
He was very funny.
Yeah.
Tell me more about him. I know he loved animals. He loved his dogs.
He loved animals. He loved chickens. Yes, he had a collection of chickens. Is that?
Yeah, and he named
like a murder of crows.
I don't
know. Of chickens.
What is a group of chickens? I'm not sure.
Big old bunch
a
of
hen
chickens.
house.
Oh yeah, there you go.
There.
Well,
so one was he named them after celebrities. What named after you.
One was named, but it would be a mix of coworkers and usually dead celebrities. So he would say, he'd come into the office and be like, you know, Lana Turner almost poked your eyes out this weekend. And I'm like, okay, it's a weird sentence. Should we go to this meeting?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, and he was just sort of, but he was also sort of an inappropriate person in some ways. I think that he butted up quite sharply against sort of anything that would be deemed as PC culture,
right.
Anything like that. And so I think, but the truth is it came with so much love. He loved books and book publishing and telling people what to read, and he just wanted people to read amazing books, loved rediscovering them. So however inappropriate he was, he fought for everyone's raises. You know, he was just a wonderful person.
And as your good friend, I mean, he was someone who led you through some things, helped you through some things.
Yeah.
You mentioned he was a bit quirky. I love that he anthropomorphized objects.
Oh yeah. Yes, everything.
So describe that, because you do a great job of describing that.
Oh, thank you. It would just, he'd pick up like he loved the flea market, and he'd pick up like an ashtray shaped like a flamingo and be like, isn't she wonderful? And then you also had to agree how wonderful the flamingo-shaped ashtray was, or he would just be done with you. Be like, give it back. You don't appreciate it.
You don't appreciate it.
You don't get to hold it.
Oh my gosh.
You know, but it's just someone who, in this world where people tend to sort of placate each other, or everyone's very nice, or you know, on social media, everybody has this sort of like baseline of just like a common language. He was so extreme in his opinions. And when he loved something, he loved it so deeply, and he wanted everyone to know. And I think that I will never know exactly what happened, but I know that I miss him dearly. And I also know that it's dangerous to write a memoir like this about, not dangerous, but a fault in it can be, I don't expect people to miss him exactly as I did. What I expect is for them to recognize their own grief.
Oh, absolutely.
And their own, and I'm also the friend, which is weird. So I'm not the partner, I'm not the daughter, not the sister. And so what I am, though, is someone who felt like part of the book is trying to find my footing and owning that grief.
Well, I think when anyone loses a good friend, I mean, here on AM Northwest, we lost Dave Anderson, the host, who had been here many years.
I know.
And even though it didn't come out of the blue, the loss is tremendous. And it's felt for those who weren't his wife. I wasn't his wife.
Of
I
course.
wasn't his daughter, all of that. So I get what you're talking about here. What do you think he would say about your book? About your memoir that focused on him?
Well, you assume he'd read it.
Yeah.
Well, no, he would.
Voracious reader, of course.
He was a voracious reader, but I think when you work in publishing, it's almost like I imagine the same thing is true of music, art, whatever. When you work behind the scenes, everybody's got a secret project that's related to the industry you're working in, which means that you've got a lot of writers on your hands, and it can be nerve-wracking to read your friends' books.
Right.
What if you don't like it?
Yeah.
But I think he would, I mean, this is obviously someone who had, whether it was disclosed or not, leaned towards self-erasure. So I don't know if he would like being the center of attention as he is in this book.
Interesting.
However, I know that he would be really proud of me. I do know that.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. What do you think he would have thought? Because he took his life shortly before COVID hit. Like, what do you think how he would have handled that?
I mean, well, I think, you know, obviously more time with Lana Turner.
Yes.
End of interview. That's it. No explanation.
The chickens, the dogs.
Yes, more time with the chickens, the dogs. You know, obviously, for a voracious reader, COVID has, you know, you're able to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It's such a strange thing when someone dies before a giant shift, whatever it is, whether it's an election or a global pandemic. I don't think he would have liked being cooped up. Oh my gosh, the chicken jokes.
Chicken thing.
I just can't make it stop. I'm sorry.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Totally get it. The book again is Grief is for People, Sloane Crosley. It is available for pre-order now, and it will be in bookstores next week. Sloane Crosley, thank you so much.
Oh,
great
such a
talking
joy
with
to
you
be
again.
here. Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.